Thank you very much to all the devotees for the opportunity to be here tonight. Here's Sati. She should be getting ready for bed, but instead she wants to be here with everyone. Okay. You want to say hello? Okay.
Hello, Sati.
Let me do this. Okay.
I was future speaker. Getting training.
Yes. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you, Nandaraj Prabhu, and all the devotees for organizing these lectures. I was thinking about it today. We've been doing this service now for a long time, Prabhu, and keeping everyone coming together and hearing the pastimes of the Lord. And even though, like for myself at this time of night, usually I can't join in on the Zoom, I try to listen back to the classes, and I know it's really helped our whole community keep connected and feel enlivened by hearing throughout this whole situation where we can't really come together very often. So thank you, Prabhu. I know that so many people really appreciate this.
It's a team effort, everybody. There's a whole team behind it. I'm just a front face.
Yes, yeah. Yes, yeah. No, I'm sure there's many people involved, and I know everybody really appreciates it. And in the lead up to Gaura Purnima, it's really wonderful for us to come together and increase our meditation on Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And in that way, when we approach Gaura Purnima, we can have a very full and rich experience, welcoming and celebrating the appearance of the Lord. So I'll just read a couple of verses. Well, I'll chant one verse and I'll read one verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So tonight we'll be discussing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. So I'm sure many people know this very famous verse from the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudadaye Pushpavanto Chicho Shando Tamonudo. And Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're just like the sun and the moon, and they have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gaudadesh to dispel the darkness of ignorance and to wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So this is Lord Gauranga and Lord Nityananda. Like the sun and the moon, they're arising, they are dissipating all the darkness of ignorance, and they're giving so much benediction. We glorify Lord Chaitanya like this, Namo Mahavadanyaya. He is the most merciful incarnation, the most munificent. Why? Because he freely gives love for God. He's freely giving out prema bhakti. And as we know from hearing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, although we glorify Lord Chaitanya as the most merciful, Lord Nityananda, he sometimes takes this position as being even more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. So we have this incredible duo, Gaura and Nitai. And to glorify Lord Chaitanya means to please Lord Nityananda. Just as on Radhastami, we have a beautiful celebration and worship of Sri Radha. And who is the most pleased on that day? Krishna. Because Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. So just as we're gearing up to celebrate and worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by doing that, Sri Nityananda Prabhu becomes so pleased, because there is no one dearer to Lord Nityananda than Lord Chaitanya, and there is no one dearer to Lord Chaitanya than Lord Nityananda. And as we hear in the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, the way to approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the way to attain his mercy, is to approach Lord Nityananda Prabhu first. So by worshipping and glorifying Sri Chaitanya, we're actually approaching Lord Nityananda for his mercy. So we're doing we're doing many things simultaneously. And we often see this as a recurring theme in Krishna consciousness, that the Lord performs many different purposes at once, And also when we are performing devotional service, then many things are happening at the same time, not simply one. So there's a very wonderful verse that is in the 14th chapter of the Adi Leela. This is text 5. Vande Chaitanya Krishnasya Balya Leela Manoharam Lokikam Apitam Isha Cheshtaya Valitantaram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the childhood pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, this statement is confirmed as follows. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. To execute his pastimes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet or within this universe like an ordinary human being or human child. Yet he maintains his superiority as the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna appeared as a human child, but his uncommon activities, even in his childhood, like the killing of the demon Putana or the lifting of Govardhan Hill, were not the engagements of an ordinary child. Similarly, although the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as they will be described in this chapter, appear like the activities of a small boy, they are uncommon pastimes, impossible for an ordinary human child to execute. So when the Lord appears, he performs many different pastimes. And we see that in the Lord's different incarnations, he performs such a wide variety of pastimes. And one very common theme, which is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the purposes for the Lord's appearance, is to reestablish the principles of religion, to get rid of the demonic, and to give pleasure to the devotees. And so we see in the Lord's different incarnations and appearances, then he's performing all of these purposes at once. And Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's extraordinarily special because not only is he performing those functions, he reestablishes the principles of religion, he gives pleasure to the devotees, and he diminishes the demoniac. But how does he do it? He does it with that compassionate mood of Srimati Radharani, because he is such a special appearance of the Lord as the combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna. We see in Krishna's incarnations, Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, so many incarnations that he takes up his weapons and he destroys the demons. Big battles, big, very splendorous displays of his opulence. Yet we see in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he is still completely full of those opulences, and yet he displays them in a very different manner. He displays them in a different way. He doesn't hold his chakra and his club to get rid of the demons, although he did try that, but Lord Nityananda stepped in between. Because that's not the purpose for this incarnation. The purpose of his incarnation is that compassionate, loving mood of Radharani, is giving prema bhakti. And that's how he destroys the demons. And he comes with his weapons of his associates. And his weapon is his beauty. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very different from holding a bow and arrow or the chakra. His weapon is his beauty. His weapons are his devotees. His weapon is Sankirtan. So it is a very, very special appearance of the Lord as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he exhibits his opulences in such intimate ways. It's not such a, like a big splendorous display of his opulence. It was very personal, very intimate, very private in some ways. So to be able to delve into the pastimes of the Lord, we must offer our respects, our thanks, our deepest appreciation to Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur and Vishwanath Chakravarti for giving us the glimpses into the Lord's unending pastimes, which are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. And in order for us to approach Radha and Krishna in this age of Kali, we must approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we must approach Sri Sri Gaura Nitai. There's no way around that. And so these insights that are given into the Lord's pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, they are priceless. There's something that we can't, we could never do without. We're so reliant on this. And the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as echoing the childhood pastimes of Krishna, are very intimate. They're very sweet. They're full of wisdom and full of pleasure. My meditation in preparing on this class has really been how much the Lord loves to give pleasure to the devotees. And you see that in the way he exhibits his pastimes. Krishna loves to please his devotees. And so he acts in so many ways to just draw the affection and attention of the devotees completely onto him. And that goes for his eternal associates that appear with him and assist him in his pastimes. And that's also available for us, that the Lord displays his pastimes in order to draw us in order to attach us to him very deeply when we allow ourselves to become absorbed in his pastimes, to really meditate on them and become attracted. I remember hearing Mother Urmila describing that, let yourself fall in love with Krishna, let yourself become attracted to him. We don't, don't feel like it's improper, actually let yourself become attracted to Krishna. And so that's what Krishna's pastimes do. They allow us to become attracted to him, to see his personal character, his wonderful way of interacting with the devotees. And that should ignite the desire within us to have that personal interaction with the Supreme Personality of Godhead as well. So let's delve in to some of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his early childhood. As I mentioned, the Lord's pastimes are endless, so this is simply a glimpse by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. I'll go through a few pastimes of the Lord. Now, where I want to start is just prior to the appearance of the Lord. There is a section in Chaitanya Bhagavat that I'll read, and probably be about 5 minutes of reading, where it describes the prayers by the demigods when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was within Mother Sachi's womb. And these prayers, again, they are full of transcendental truth, and I think they really set the mood for then going in to speak about the Lord's pastimes. So this is from the beginning of Chaitanya Bhagavat. So it describes here that, aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was about to descend to the material world, Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods came and recited many prayers. All these descriptions are present, although concealed in the statement of the Vedas. Of this, there is no doubt. Now please hear the prayers Brahma and the other demigods spoke with great devotion. By hearing these confidential prayers, one becomes attracted to Lord Krishna. The demigods said, "Glory, glory to Lord Mahaprabhu, the Father of all. Glory, glory to the Lord, who to start the Sankirtan movement has descended to this material world. Glory, glory to the Lord, who is the protector of the Vedas, religion, the devotees, and the Brahmanas. Glory, glory to the Lord, who is time personified, the crusher of the non-devotees. Glory, glory to the Lord, whose form is transcendental and eternal. Glory, glory to the Lord, who is the supreme controller of all controllers and whose every desire is at once fulfilled. You reside in countless millions of universes, Now you are manifest in Sachi's womb. Who can understand your wishes? The creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material universes are only playing for you. If you wish, all the universes will be at once destroyed. Were you not able to kill Kamsa and Ravana simply by speaking a single word? Still, you descended into the homes of Dasarath and Vasudev, and you killed all the demons. O Lord, who can understand the reason why you act? Only you have the power to understand your heart. If you give the order, every one of your servants can deliver the souls in countless universes. Even so, you personally descend to this world, teach the true religion, and make everyone fortunate. You have descended to this world in limitless forms. Who can count them all? Manifesting the form of Matsya, you enjoyed pastimes on the water of devastation. Manifesting the form of Kurma, you became the resting place of all living entities. Manifesting the form of Hayagriva, you rescued the Vedas and killed Madhu and Kaitaba, the first two demons. Do you want to show everyone? Okay. Manifesting the form of Sri Varaha, you rescued the earth. Manifesting the form of Nrsimha, you tore Hiranyakashipu to shreds. Manifesting the wonderful form of Vamana, you cheated Bali Maharaj. Manifesting the form of Parshuram, you made the earth a place where Kshatriyas no longer lived. Manifesting the form of Ramachandra, you killed Ravana. Manifesting the form of Balaram, you enjoyed limitless pastimes. Manifesting the form of Buddha, you preached the religion of mercy. Manifesting the form of Kalki, you killed the mlechas. Now in this incarnation, you will manifest the form of a devotee of the Lord. With all your power, you will preach the Sankirtan movement. The whole world will be filled with Sankirtan. In home after home, prema bhakti, loving devotional service will be manifest. How can we describe the bliss that will fill the worlds when meeting with your servants, you will dance? By always meditating on your lotus feet, your devotees remove all inauspiciousness from this world. The soles of their feet break the inauspiciousness of this world. Their glances purify the 10 directions. When they raise their arms and dance, the troubles present, even in Svargaloka, perish. Your servants are like that. Their glory is like that. Their dancing is like that. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bringing your devotees with you, you have personally come to this world. You will preach the Sankirtan movement and distribute pure love of God. It goes on, and it's very glorious, these prayers. They describe that hiding devotional service, you freely give liberation. We desire the gift of devotional service. This is one of the prayers of the demigods. As the master of the universe, you give the greatest wealth as a gift to others. They describe how after many days, you will fulfill the Ganga's long-cherished desire, for you will enjoy pastimes in her water. You are now manifest in the town of Navadvip. In this way, they continuously offered prayers. Before the Lord appeared from Sachi Devi's womb, the demigods would daily offer glorious prayers like this. And sometimes Sachi Devi would see, it's described how Sachi Devi would see different personalities coming and gathering, speaking words of being present in the sky, and she would have glimpses of this. But it was a daily occurrence while the Lord was within the womb of Mother Sachi. And we can see how the Lord fulfilled his purpose, began to fulfill his purpose of inaugurating the Sankirtan movement from the very moment that he took birth. that, as we know, there was the eclipse, and so everyone was in the Ganga. Everybody was chanting the names Hari. And even those who weren't Vaishnavas, everyone was chanting at this time. And in that mood, that environment, everything aligned perfectly for the Lord to appear. Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur were dancing. All the devotees were in ecstasy because it was such an auspicious moment. It was such an auspicious occasion. And then the Supreme Personality of God had appeared to the chanting of the holy name. And this is one of the reasons for his appearance, to inaugurate the chanting of the holy name. And he did that from the moment he appeared. This is remarkable. It wasn't as if he grew up a little bit and then things started to happen. From the very moment that he appeared, this started to happen. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, everyone was in ecstasy. All the members of the household, Jagannath Mishra's place, all the ladies, everyone was so overjoyed to see a healthy child born, and such an effulgent and beautiful child born to Mother Sachi. They were so they were so overjoyed to see the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone, did you draw Lord Chaitanya? Yeah. Golden, Lord Chaitanya. That's the eclipse. Thank you. Do you want to show them? Okay, and then that's it. Sati's drawings. Thank you. So much was going on in the home. And Jagannath Mishra, they wanted to perform the proper ceremonies for the birth of their child. And so they called Nilambar Chakravarti, who is the father of Sachi Devi, and a wonderful Brahmana astrologer. And he came there, and he gave the child's horoscope at that time. And he could see in the horoscope such amazing characteristics of this child, and he began to speak to Jagannath Mishra about what is present there in the horoscope. And he explained that this child will be a great scholar. This child has all the signs of a great king, a great leader. He will be devotional service personified. He has all the qualities of Lord Narayan himself. And Jagannath Mishra is just in ecstasy, thinking he's the most fortunate person in the universe to have a child like of this quality, of this character. And at that time, Nilambar Chakravarti gave the name Vishvambar, that he is the maintainer and supporter of the whole universe. So his name should be Vishvambar. There were also several other names given. One was Navadvip Chandra, that he would be the moon of Navadvip because he will give so much pleasure to all the people of Navadvip. It describes that the ladies gave him the name of Nimai for several reasons, that he was born under the Nim tree. Also, it describes that because the 8 daughters of Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, everyone can hear me. Because the 8 daughters of Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra had all passed away very soon after their birth, they also gave that name Nimai as a way of protecting the baby. His father, Jagannath Mishra, called him Gauranga because he has such golden limbs. And then there was also Gaurhari because he looked so beautiful, just like Lord Hari, but he was golden in color. So these beautiful names were given to the Supreme Lord. Leave it there. Leave it there. And soon after, the Lord displayed his first pastime, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I mean, his appearance is obviously a pastime, but one of the it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that this is his first childhood pastimes. when the Lord was upside down, was laying on his tummy, and he showed the soles of his feet. And so Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi saw the markings on the soles of his feet. And as we know, Lord Chaitanya carries the signs of Lord Vishnu on his feet. So on seeing this, his parents were astonished, and they became very bewildered by seeing this. Why are we seeing this? And when the Lord tried to move around, these little marks would be on the floor, they would be around. And Jagannath Mishra, his conclusion about it was that it must be their Shalagram Shila, their household Shalagram Shila that they would worship. He must have taken the form of Bal Gopal Krishna and have been moving around the house and showing these markings on the floor. But because they could also see it on the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they again called for Nilambar Chakravarti to come. And he came and asserted to them that he has all the markings and all the characteristics of such a great saintly personality. And he was affirming to Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata that this child will be the protector of everyone. This child is the protector of the Vaishnavas. He will deliver his entire family. He can deliver everyone in the world. And this is when they did an official name-giving ceremony. That name-giving ceremony, these names were there, and they did the proper ceremonial rituals to go along with it. And they also did the ceremony where the Srimad Bhagavatam, the coins, the different articles were placed in front of the baby, and he could move towards what he wanted to approach. And of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went straight for the Srimad Bhagavatam. He held the Srimad Bhagavatam, and everyone was very blissful seeing the devotion of the child. Nimai, as a small child, again, he was inaugurating the Sankirtan movement from the very beginning. So as all children, Nimai would cry. And he had a way of crying that would just break the hearts of all the ladies in the house. No one could bear his crying. But whatever they tried to do to get him to stop crying, it didn't have any effect. He would just continue crying and crying and crying until they started to chant the holy names of the Lord. And then Nimai would stop crying. This is a recurring theme during his early pastimes. Whenever he would cry, then all the ladies in the house, they would start to chant, and they would sing and clap their hands, and baby Nimai, he would stop crying and he would move. It's described, he would dance, but he was very small, still in the arms, so he would just move and dance to their chanting. And in this way, there was Sankirtan in Malasachi's house 24 hours a day, it says, because they all kept chanting so that Nimai would be happy. And this is, we can see this as a childhood pastime, but this is also a lesson for all of us. Yes, to please Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then it's chanting 24 hours a day, constant absorption in the holy name of the Lord. That pleases the Lord very greatly. When he was a little older, when he was crawling and able to move around, then he would move in and out of the house quite a lot. And one day he had crawled out into the courtyard area, and in through the fence crawled a snake, a very large snake. Now, we don't have snakes here in New Zealand, but many of us are from countries where there are snakes. So if a snake is approaching a small child, there's a lot of concern. And at first, the snake just entered the courtyard, And Nimai went over to the snake and was trying to grab at the snake. And when he was grabbing at the snake began to coil around him. So it coiled around and around. And Nimai was just leaned back and started relaxing on the coils of the snake. And when the ladies of the house came out into the courtyard and they saw this scene, there's a snake with its coils around their baby, around Nimai. Everyone was panicking and praying to the Lord for the safety of the child. And Nimai just kept leaning back on the coils of the snake. And it's described that the snake is Anantashesh coming to see his Lord. And when he realized how much distress the devotees of the Lord were in, Mother Sachi and the ladies, and when Anantashesha realized the distress he was causing, then he started to crawl away, started to slide away. But baby Nimai kept reaching out to grab him and was trying to go after him. The ladies of the house had to grab him and pick him up and bring him into the house and chant their protective mantras over him and pray in gratefulness that the Lord had protected their child in this way. We can see how, just as in Krishna's pastimes, Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes, they just bring out that Vatsalya Prem, that real affection as a parent, that the devotees were constantly trying to protect him, were concerned for his welfare. And this, as we know from Nectar of Devotion, this degree of love for Krishna in Vatsalya Prem is it's a very high degree of love. When you feel yourself as the protector of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such an intimate connection with the Lord. When Nimai was, so he's old enough to walk around and to play outside with his little playmates. He engaged in a very interesting pastime that really, again, shows one of the purposes of his appearance, and that is to defeat Mayavad philosophy also, that even as a child, a very young child, he wanted to instruct in this way. So it describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that one day when Nimai was outside playing with his friends, Mother Sachi brought a plate of prasadam for him to eat, some nice food for him to eat. And she gave that to him and she went back inside. And Nimai went out of view from her and sat down and began to eat the dirt. And now Mother Sachi, after some time, she came out to check on her son and she saw him sitting there eating dirt. And she started to grab the dirt out of his hands and said, "Why are you eating dirt? I just gave you such nice food to eat. What are you doing eating dirt?" And little Nimai, he says to her, "Why are you angry with me? You've already given me dirt to eat. What have I done wrong?" And then he begins to expound this Mayavad philosophy that everything is one, wanting to be instructed by his mother. So Nimai, he starts speaking to his mother, saying that all this food, it's just a transformation of dirt. It's come from the earth. So what's the difference if I just sit here and eat the earth, or I sit here and eat these sweets and things that you've given me? What is the difference? He says to her that this body itself is a transformation of dirt. Everything is just a transformation of dirt. So why are you blaming me? What have I done wrong? Now, Mother Sachi has described that she was astonished by this. She's thinking, why are you speaking this Mayavad philosophy? Where did you get this from? And she says that to Nimai. She said, "What are you doing? Like, who's taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies your eating dirt?" And she explains to him that if you eat dirt, then your body becomes diseased instead of nourished. But if we eat grains, which is a transformation of the earth, then our body becomes strong. It's not the same. And she gives an example to Nimai. She gives an example to Nimai that if I have a water pot, that's a transformation of the earth. But inside that water pot, I can carry water very nicely. But if I just have a clump of dirt and I pour water onto it, then it's just going to be a soggy mess. It won't carry the water. So it is not the same. We need to see there's difference. And Nimai replied to his mother that, yes, now you have explained this very practical philosophy to me, I shall accept it. And I'll never again speak like this, that there is no difference. So we see Lord Chaitanya, even as such a small child, he's teaching philosophical truths. He's allowing us to see through the facade of Mayavad philosophy very clearly, in a very simple way, very simple, a very simple example. Sorry, she's tired, so now she's just all over me. There is a very sweet description, a short description of the beauty of Lord Chaitanya, of the beauty of Nimai in Chaitanya Bhagavat. It describes there that the handsomeness of the Lord's limbs defeated 10 million Kamadevs. The moon yearned to gaze on his face. His graceful head and forehead were covered with graceful curly hair. His eyes were like lotus flowers. He looked like Gopal Krishna himself. His long arms reached down to his knees. His lips were red. His chest was broad. All his features were handsome and auspicious. His handsome fair form was splendid like the sun. His fingers, hands, and feet were very handsome. The Lord walked here and there as a child walks, seeing the naturally red soles of his feet and thinking that he had cut himself and was bleeding. Sachimata became frightened. The redness of his feet was so brilliant that Mother Sachi was afraid that he had cut himself. Sorry. And again, we have these descriptions of how from the early morning, all the ladies in the household would begin to chant. They would chant, and the Lord, as a small child, would dance for them. He was like a puppet in their hands. They would dance, they would chant, and he would dance. And they would all become just so attracted to him. And no one could understand how they were just chanting all the time now, how they were so, so enlivened to chant all the time. As Lord Chaitanya at this phase, as Nimai was always wandering about, he would wander about the neighborhood and he would always be looking for good things to eat. And he would ask neighbors, he would ask strangers to give him things to eat. And sometimes he would collect whatever he was given, bananas or sweets or sandash, he would collect them and he would take them home and give them to those ladies who were always chanting for him as gifts. He would come with his little arms with bananas and sweets and hand them all out to the ladies. And everyone who would see the Lord wandering around in the neighborhood, they were always so attracted to him. They couldn't understand why they were so attracted to him, even though he would also perform very mischievous activities in people's homes. He would enter into people's homes and take things, take their eatables. He would take some milk from here, he would take some sweets from there. It describes that if he saw a small child in someone's house, he would make the child cry and then he would run away. And if anyone would catch him, he would then fall at their feet and beg them, no, please don't tell my mother. So we can see in this so many, it echoes Sri Krishna's pastimes in Gokul with his loving devotees also. And one time when he was wandering around like this in the neighborhood without his parents, then 2 thieves saw him. And they wanted to take the boy away because Nimai would often be decorated with very beautiful gems and bracelets. And so the thieves that saw him thought, we'll take this child and we'll rob him. Actually, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the purport to this verse, Prabhupada says they were going to kill him. So it was quite a serious situation. And they gave Nimai some sweets and took him up on their shoulders and said, we're going to take you home. And young Nimai was, okay, yes, let's go home. Let's take me home. And so he was on the shoulders of one of the thieves and they began walking, and their intention was to take him to a secluded place where they could rob his jewels. But because the Lord manifested his Yogamaya potency over them, they actually got very confused and they took him back to his house. Now, in the meantime, when the thieves were wandering around with Nimai, when they were going around with Nimai, everyone in Sachi Devi's house was searching for the Lord. Where has he gone? Why is he not, playing in the courtyard? He's not here. Everyone was panicking, going around trying to search for him. And then here come the thieves back to the front of Jagannath Mishra's house, and they saw everybody going around in a panic trying to find the child, and they became very frightened that they're going to find us out. And so they just put the child down and quickly went away. And then Nimai went up to Jagannath Mishra and embraced his father. And again, everyone was just overwhelmed with relief that the child was safe and sound. And they couldn't figure out, how did he get back here? Where had he gone? And Nimai told them that, I was wandering around and 2 men found me and they brought me home. But in Chaitanya Bhagavad, it describes how fortunate were these thieves. The Lord rode on the shoulders. Nimai, little golden Nimai, actually rode on the shoulders and had a fun ride with these thieves. And this is, again, we see this mercy of Lord Chaitanya, that the intention of those people was to cause harm, and yet he gave them benedictions. So it's a very wonderful pastime. And one of the such an intimate pastime described in brief in Chaitanya Charitamrita and more in depth in Chaitanya Bhagavat. We see the humility of the great devotees in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when he is going through the pastimes of the Lord, he always says, because Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described this in detail, then I will just describe it in brief. Or I'll not go into great detail into this because Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has already done so. But we see how the great devotees are never trying to compete with each other or outdo one another. It's always something that I think about when I read Chaitanya Charitamrita, the words of the great devotees. So we have this pastime that's described in depth in Chaitanya Bhagavat, where there was a traveling pilgrim Brahmana, and he happened to travel through Navadvip, and he came to Jagannath Mishra's house. I'm not used to talking so much anymore. I find myself quite thirsty. So this traveling pilgrim, he was very simple and a very, very advanced devotee. He only had a few possessions. He had a Shalagram Shila, and he had a deity of Balgopal, and he had a water pot. Those were his possessions. And he constantly traveled. He was always traveling around. So he came to the house of Jagannath Mishra, and this Brahmana, he was always chanting his Gopal mantra. He was always chanting. So he was full of effulgence. When Jagannath Mishra saw him come to the house, he fell down at his feet and he welcomed him, because he could see all the symptoms of great love within this wonderful Brahmana. And so he invited him in to take shelter at his home. And he invited the Brahmana, please, you can cook here. Because the Brahmana, he was always traveling. So he was used to living on fruits and roots that he would collect. And he wouldn't eat anything before it was offered to his Gopal deity. So it was a very rare occasion for this Brahmana to be in a position where he could cook rice and cooked vegetables and then offer that to his Lord. So Jagannath Mishra said, please, you can cook here and I'll give all facility for your cooking. So he cleaned the kitchen, the whole family, the ladies, everyone was cleaning the kitchen so well, stocked the kitchen with all fresh things and made it all very nice for the Brahmana to cook. So the Brahmana was very happy and he started to cook for his Gopal. And he made a very nice offering, very nice preparations to offer to his Gopal. And when he sat down and he was meditating on Gopal, he was calling to Gopal to please come and accept this offering. He was in his meditation doing the offering, and then he opened his eyes and he saw the child Nimai eating the rice from the offering plate, putting handful after handful of rice into his mouth. And the Brahmana was shocked. It's like, what is he doing? Why is he doing this? He's ruined my offering. And Jagannath Mishra comes running in and he was incredibly angry. And he was chasing after Nimai starts to run away, of course. And Jagannath Mishra was running after him and saying, no, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to teach him a lesson. And it was this Brahmana pilgrim who had to hold the hand of Jagannath Mishra and say, no, you cannot punish this child. He's simply a child and he doesn't know right from wrong. I said, that's okay. Gopal doesn't want me to eat cooked foods today. Just give me some fruits and roots and I'll offer that to the deity and I'll eat that. The Brahmana was very equipoised. But Jagannath Mishra was so full of remorse. He couldn't believe that this has happened in his house. And so he begged the Brahmana, no, please cook again. I will clean the kitchen again. We'll give all ingredients. Please cook again. And the Brahmana said, but you can see, the Lord doesn't want me to eat like that today. That's why this has happened. But because Jagannath Mishra was so sincere and so insistent, say, oh, please, I don't want this offense to be hanging over us. Please cook again. And we will make sure that the child is away. So the Brahmana, he agreed, okay, I'll cook again. So they cleaned the kitchen again. They had all ingredients, everything ready there. And they sent Nimai to the next house, and people were taking care of him there. And they said, look, he won't bother you. So please cook again. And so the Brahmana, again, very equipoised, he made his preparations. And again, he was in his meditation, reciting the proper mantras and calling on his Gopal to please accept this offering. And again, he sees the baby, the child, Nimai, again there eating the rice, putting the handfuls of rice into his mouth, and he cried out, oh no, why again? What is happening? And Jagannath Mishra came running, and how did this happen? And again, the Brahmana had to really restrain Jagannath Mishra from delivering some punishment to Nimai. And this time he was very insistent. He said, look, we cannot thwart destiny. We can see it is my destiny today. I'm not meant to eat cooked food. So that's fine. Just, I'll offer fruits and roots, and that's what the Lord wants from me today. And Jagannath Mishra, again, he's trying to beg him, please cook again. But the Brahmana was very insistent. It was actually very, very late at night by this time. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, it says that 4.5 hours of the night had already passed. So it's like the middle of the night when this Brahmana had already cooked twice. But then Vishvarup came in. And on seeing the effulgence of Vishvarup, this Brahmana just fell at his feet and was exclaiming, "Oh, whose son are you? Who are these fortunate people to have you as a child?" And it was told to him that this is Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi's other son. And it was Vishvarup who convinced him to please cook again. And so in order to give pleasure to Vishvarup, then the Brahmana, he cooks again for the third time. Nimai was asleep at this time, and then they've locked the door. Jagannath Mishra was guarding the door with a stick, and all the ladies were reassuring them, okay, he's asleep, there won't be any problem. So the Brahmana, he cooked again. And it describes in Chaitanya Bhagavat that by the Lord's potency, Nidra Devi was called and sent everybody into a very deep sleep. So everybody in the house went to sleep. But the Brahmana was there, and he had finished his cooking, and he again placed the offering before his Gopal and was reciting the mantras. And again, he opened his eyes and saw Nimai eating the rice. And he cried out, but no one could hear him because they were all in this deep sleep. And the Brahmana was crying, "Why are you doing this to me?" And then Nimai, he decided to reveal himself to the Brahmana. And this is, in his childhood pastimes, this is the first time that Nimai reveals his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. So Nimai said to the Brahmana, he said, "You are such a kind and generous person. You have called for me and I have come. So how am I at fault? You've called for me and I've not been able to stay away. So here I am." And he says to the Brahmana that because you always yearn so much to see me, now I'll show myself to you. And he reveals himself to the Brahmana in his form as Sri Gopal Krishna in Vrindavan. So the whole scene of Vrindavan manifests, and the Brahmana could see Nimai as blackish with the peacock feather. There were cows by his side. He was wearing jeweled anklets. There was a kadamba tree near him. He saw the whole Vrindavan forest filled with birds and flowers. And the Brahmana was just shocked in ecstasy. And so he faints on the ground. And then Lord Chaitanya placed his hands on that Brahmana's body, and the Brahmana regains his consciousness. And it's described that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to him, "You're my eternal associate." And he reveals to him that in his previous lives, he was a Brahmana who came to the house of Nanda Maharaj. And he had also cooked at the house of Nanda Maharaj, and child Krishna had stolen his offering. So this is an eternal relation between this Brahmana and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Brahmana, of course, is just in complete ecstasy. And baby Nimai, who's revealing his supreme opulence to the Brahmana, he says to him, "You cannot reveal this to anybody." And he makes him promise that. And then Lord Chaitanya goes back to his bed and goes to sleep. Now the Brahmana describes in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat that the Brahmana is in such ecstasy that he starts taking that rice that Nimai was eating and smearing it all over his body. And he starts to eat the rice and he's putting it everywhere and he's just crying out, Jai Gopal, Jai Gopal. And he's just in complete ecstasy. And because of the sounds of his shouting, everybody in the house woke up. And he could hear people waking up, and he quickly started to cleanse himself and sat there very properly and started to take his prasadam. And when everybody came to see him, he said, yes, the offering was a success. I was able to do the offering. So we see this wonderful revelation of the Lord to this such a fortunate personality, this Brahmana. And it describes there that after this, that Brahmana, he did not leave Navadvip. He stayed in Navadvip, and he would just beg around the homes in Navadvip, but every day he would go to Jagannath Mishra's house just to watch the childhood pastimes of the Lord, just to have that opportunity to see the Lord performing these very intimate, very sweet and personal pastimes. I still had a few more a couple more that I was going to go through, but I see we're almost at time. So should we open up for questions, Nandraj Prabhu, or should I go on? What do you think?
I think it's getting very aesthetic. I think you can do one more pastime.
Okay, we'll do one more. All right. Sorry. So we'll do one. The next short one is the Lord's interactions with Hiranya Pandit and Jagdish Pandit. So as we've been discussing, the Lord would cry quite a lot. And one day he was crying so much, and none of the ladies could pacify him. They were chanting, they were trying to get him to dance, and he wasn't pacified. And Mother Sachi was worried that he was sick. And all the ladies in the house were asking him, what do you want, Nimai? How can we pacify you? What do you want? And he said to them, I want prasadam from the house of Hiranya Pandit and Jagadish Pandit. It is a Kodashi today, but they are preparing Vishnu prasadam, and I want some of the remnants. And everyone was astonished. How does he know? One, how does he know it's a Kodashi when he's so small? And why is he then asking for Vishnu prasadam, which is, as we know, Lord Vishnu doesn't have to follow a Kodashi. That is for the devotees. So the Lord generally will take regular prasadam on a Kodashi. So Nimai is asking for that. And everyone was astonished. And Mother Sachi said, no, we can't do this. This is not the proper action for us. But because everyone wanted to pacify the Lord, then they sent the message to Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit that Nimai wants the remnants of the prasadam that you offered. And the brothers were just astounded. How did he even know they were making such a special offering for their deities on that day? And so they packed some prasadam for him and sent it off. And when Nimai ate that prasadam, then he stopped crying, and Mother Sachi saw him come back to his proper state, and describes that he took that prasadam out and he would distribute bits to his friends. And in that way he was pacified, and he showed great mercy to Hiranya Pandit and Jagadish Pandit. He wanted to taste their devotion. He accepted their offering directly. So that was also a very sweet and intimate pastime of the Lord. And as we know, the Lord's pastimes are so many. They are unlimited. And so this is just a little glimpse along the surface of some of the pastimes of the Lord. But this is a very auspicious time for us to become absorbed in these pastimes. And each day we'll be able to deepen our meditation on Lord Chaitanya and be able to glorify him and worship him on Guru Purnima. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak something about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's I'm really grateful for that. Oh, and Sati did another drawing for everyone. Who did you draw down the bottom?
Me.
She drew herself. Okay. So if anyone would like to ask a question, I can try to answer from what I've read from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Yeah.
Krishna, dear devotees, anybody got any comments or questions for from my side, such a wonderful study class. I'd like to thank you very much. Just that when the demigods were often prayers, when Nimai was still in the womb of Mother Sachi, she could hear them and also sometimes see them. So why is it not possible to see the demigods or other higher beings in the present time?
For us, I would say that has a lot to do with our own insufficiency. I'm sure someone will remember this better than I can, but I remember reading a pastime of Srila Prabhupada when maybe there weren't so many people who had come to a lecture, and devotees were complaining about, not complaining, but devotees were feeling a bit despondent about that. And Srila Prabhupada reprimanded them. He said, what, you didn't see Narada Muni? You didn't see these other personalities who have come to hear the glories of the Lord? And Srila Prabhupada was aware of that, because of his purity and his connection with Krishna. He was aware of that. He could see that. So I would say it's more our own insufficiency that we can't see higher beings and we can't see the more, the greater picture of things in the world, whereas the very exalted devotees, then Krishna allows them to see these things. And Mother Sachi, although she could see these different personalities were there, even when the Lord was born, beautiful ladies were coming and touching the baby's feet and touching Sachimata's feet, and it describes there that she could see them, but she didn't wonder much about them. So it's like she was able to recognize them, but they didn't disturb her devotion to the Lord. They didn't interfere at all with the Lord's pastimes.
Thank you very much. Nice explanation. Anybody got any comments, queries? Got a few minutes. If not, then I'll request His Grace Krishna Prabhu to give to move a word of thanks.
Hare Krishna, everyone, and Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All worship Prabhupada. Indeed, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are very, very, very sweet, and you have very, very sweetly explained. And basically, it seems that we were watching a movie that how you were describing the pastimes. So thank you so much, Mataji. And we do pray to Shri Radhi Gitari that you continue your wonderful service at the Lotus feet as well, and also share your realizations and also explain or basically show us more of Krishna pastimes or Gaura's pastimes as well. So once again, Mataji, thank you so much. Prabhu wants me to start my video. Prabhu, I haven't shaven, so I'm sure devotees don't want to see me in this form.
Okay, that's right, Prabhu. Thank you.
And for tomorrow, please note that we'll have a Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning, starting at 7:45 a.m. And class will be given by His Grace Anadi Mohan Prabhu. And tomorrow evening, same time, we'll be starting at 7:30 with Gaura Katha, with 7:30 with the Kirtan, followed by 7:45 with the class. And tomorrow's evening class will be given by His Grace Sud Krishna Prabhu. So that's for tomorrow's details. And once again, hey Sati, Hare Krishna. Sorry you can't see me, but I can see you. A big girl now.
Thank you very much, Krishna Chandra Prabhu. And I really need everyone's blessings that I can stay in, well, I can do some kind of service for Shri Radha Giridhari. It's what we all hope and pray for. And I'm always inspired by everyone's surrender and service to the Lord in so many various ways. And I really hope that our family can serve you all. And Shisha Radhagiri allows us to stay here at Vibhashan and continue doing some little service. Oh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Jai. Her Grace Acutya Bhava Mataji ki jai, Shambhavat ki jai, Sati ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Pranam, Jai. Now we have touching a prayer by Nitai Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Ladadayine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato yato yami tato narsimha Bahir narsimha Hridaye narsimha Narasimha madim sharanam prabhate Tava kara kamalavare nakam Adbhuta shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jayo Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jayo Jagadisha Hare Jayo Narasingha Dev Jayo Narasingha Dev Jayo Narasingha Dev Jayo Narasingha Dev Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jayo Bhakta Prahlad Jayo Bhakta Prahlad Jayo Bhakta Prahlad Nitai Gaur Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Shri Narsinghdeva Bhagavan ki Jai Bhakta Prahlad ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari.
Thank you, Taj Prabhuji, for a wonderful Krishna prayer. So we'll end the program here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining this evening. It's been a wonderful class, such a sweet katha. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:45 for the Srimad Bhagavatam class and Gaur Katha at 7:30 tomorrow. Thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakti, Gaur family, Gaur Hare Krishna. Pranam, jai Gaur.